So we know what to do, but many of us are crippled by $50,000 to $100,000 of debt and then high rent prices. And so that's the millennial struggle. But if you're like 16 to 18 and you get guidance, you can crush it in today's.
Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Frank Rashad. This is to whomever it may concern. So today's video, I was reading. I'm a voracious reader. Definitely shout out to Cat Williams. Just articles, finance in general, and I came across this one article in Fox Business that I wanted to share. It's an article and it's a video. So I'm gonna give you my opinion on both, really, right? It's all in one. So let's take a look at this video real quick. This is the video I'm referring to on this end. So let's get into the video. Give you guys my comments. Let's go. So it's like the question that was that a realtor detailed in his TikTok video. I believe this is a TikTok creator, uh, Freddie Smith. It's the old American dream dead. Realtor detailed salary needed to buy a home before the middle class life in 2024. So let's get into it, and I'll give you guys my opinion. Go.
Set up Google Analytics.
Skip.
Yeah, I think most of us in America would define the middle class as somebody who can work a 40-hour-a-week career and can have the income to purchase the average home in America, and possibly even have a spouse at home, raise a couple children, take a 2-week vacation, have a car that's 5 to 10 years old, nothing fancy, still turning the lights off in the house. Like
No, we need to upgrade our cars every 5 years. Definitely these cars. So yeah, for sure.
a lot of us grew up middle class, and we watched what middle class was in the 80s and 90s as millennials. And nowadays, that's what's moved the goalpost more than anything is the housing market. Because just 5 years ago, the median household income was about 60, 70,000. And that's what you needed to qualify for a home.
So just starting off, I think it's a little bit him complaining. I bought my first piece of property at 24 years old. 24 years old. So that would put me in 2013, 14, whatever. So I don't know what he's talking about. Like I took advantage of the housing market when I could. I was post graduating in college, got my first job at I'm an engineer. If you know anything about me, I'm an engineer. Got my first job. I slept on my parents' couch. And yeah, I saved up 25K and for my down payment. I wasn't trying to live in an apartment and save up for a house. I didn't buy a house, I bought a building. So and from there I've been able to move. So I don't let me finish watching and I'm gonna continue to comment. Let's go.
Home. Now in 2024, the average home is 400,000, 420 for most of Americans, and you need about $120,000 as a income to have a shot at qualifying for that house. So just in the housing,
that's if you want to buy like this is difficult. I feel like he's crying. I feel like he's complaining. 120,000. The average income in America, I believe, is 50,000, 50 to 60,000. I think that's the average income in America. And those $400,000 houses aren't meant for people making 40, 50, 60,000 dollars a year. That's the honest to God truth. And if you didn't watch my old video that I posted about group economics. I think that'll bring everything together. I think we got to stop operating as individuals, as individual entities, and operate as one silo in order to obtain these bigger purchases as far as houses are concerned, or apartment buildings and whatever other business ventures you want to do. But let's continue. I feel like he's complaining, and it's whatever.
Market alone, I feel, is what shifted the goalpost. And if someone can afford to purchase a home, which is fine, maybe people are going through struggles or need more time, you're then forced to rent because you need somewhere to live. But now the rent prices are taking up 30 to 40% of people's income, making it harder for them to save for a house. So it's this perpetual cycle that has
I'm a landlord. I haven't went up on my rent. I just don't think it's a need to. I bought in at great prices, and I don't want to impede on other people's lifestyle. I want everyone to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labor. That's why I haven't went up on rent at all. So my wife and I, we've been at the same um, rent prices for about going on 5 years now. So we haven't went up.
keeping people out of the middle class, which is what we're seeing at a rapid pace here in the last few years. So 120,000, even without children, most people are carrying student loan debt, which is at an all-time high. And the average payment in the country is $500 a month for your college degree, $500 a month. And if you're married, that might be 1,000 if both of you have a college degree. Or some people I'm seeing in my comment section saying 500, I wish it's 1,200 a month for me.
People went to school for dumb majors, man. Like I've never understood why you went to school for art. I never understood why you went to school for music, unless you've been becoming a music teacher. I never understood those things. My main priority, as far as majors that concern me, would be to either get into the STEM field, get into the law, or become a doctor. Outside of those things, there's no reason to go to college. Absolutely no reason to go to college. So it's on you of what degree you get your. Because I'm not complaining. I got an engineering degree. I get a job anytime, anywhere. And then concerning student loans themselves, do what I did. I went to the military. Free. College was free. Went to the military. I'm still in the military, and I don't understand why you complaining, man. It's so different many avenues too. When all city schools, I know I'm from Chicago. If you have over a 3.0, college is free. City school, local colleges are free, and I know that pertains to other states and other cities as well. So these $500,000 debts and 200, that's on you, buddy. You're an adult. You made that decision. You got to live with it.
So college is now creating that extra expense. The other thing, it's going to be just consumer debt and credit cards. And some of that falls on personal responsibility, where you can't overspend and just swipe your
All of it is personal responsibility. All of it. Stop complaining.
credit card because you're going to get into trouble. We have $1 trillion of credit card debt in this country, which is the highest of all time. But what I'm learning again from my comment section, this isn't people buying clothes, going to concerts, and getting flat screens. They're using their credit card because they ran out of money and they need groceries. So when you have grocery prices high, college high, housing high, that's what's putting the pressure. That 60K now just isn't cutting it for most Americans in most cities. I think this is, if you have children, this is where the middle class, we're kind of segmented, because there are people, I'll kind of lead it in this way. If you are somebody who bought a house before 2020, this is so significant. If you are someone who bought a house before 2020 and you have it paid off, or you have a 3% interest rate, you are not burdened by the housing cost like the 2024 adults are now today, like us millennials and Gen Z are starting our lives. If you don't have college debt, you're not as burdened. And the biggest one, which surprised me because I don't.
Wow, people see, this is where like this is where parenting comes into play. This is really where parenting come into play. Like as soon as I graduated college, I knew I had to buy a house. There was no renting there. I come from 2-parent household. And so my parents put it on me since I was a kid: buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house, buy a house. And he talking about millennials because I'm a millennial. I'm 34 years old. I bought my house 10 years ago. Bought multiple properties at this point between now and then. And like you could segment it and mitigate those risks as far as interest rate goes by joining the military. Man, you still young enough. You 35 and below, 39 and below if you're in the Navy, 35 and below if you want to go into the Army. And that's how you get the low interest rates and zero down payment. So it's on you starting your life. I just had my first kid, so I guess that goes into it. But I wasn't drinking, partying, and doing none of that crazy stuff in my 20s. I did all that in college, and once I graduated, I put those childish, for the most part, childish things away. Let's continue.
I don't have children, but after talking to people, I had to look it up and research it because I almost didn't believe it. People are spending about $1,200 to $1,500 a month on daycare. And I've even heard it as much as $3,000 to $4,000. So when you add in somebody who's renting for $2,500, $2,000 for daycare, $1,000 for 2 college loans, just that alone, you need $100,000 as an income just for that. But then the person who bought in 2012, who's a little older, is like, well, my payment's $1,500 a month. I don't have college debt and my kids are grown. So $70,000 to them is middle class still. They're like, I can go on vacation. Groceries are annoying, but I can pay a little extra. It's not a big deal. These millennials are whining. These Gen Zers just work harder. And it's like, if you bought your house before and don't have the
How old are you, man? Like this is my question for him. How old are you? You look like you 36, 30. You look like you my age. What was you doing? You a TikToker. Yeah, you a TikToker. Now you want to complain. No, big dog. No, you're a realtor TikTok. What did you go to school for, my boy? That's on you. I'm sorry, man. I don't want to hear about you crying and complaining. I'm a millennial. I was focused. You should have been focused instead of you a TikToker. You a grown ass TikToker. TikTok's for kids, man. Like, TikTok is for kids. You damn near 40 years old talking about you a TikToker. That's how they describe you in this video. You complaining, bro. Stop it. Freddie. Somebody come get Freddie, man. Somebody is his man. It's on his OG. OG is mother or father, for those who don't know. But yeah,
those other payments, that's really the 3-layered cake: housing, college, and daycare. Depending on what those 3 costs for you are, is going to place you differently in this segmented middle class. 70 million boomers who are still with us. That's a massive, boomers and millennials have the same amount of population between our generations. And the boomers are the group that are buying second homes, or they're selling their home and downgrading or upgrading. So the boomer generation, even a lot of the Gen Xers, are accounting for many of these home purchases. But for Gen Z and millennials, it's a very, very small percentage of our generation who's buying. And a lot of people, including myself, when the pandemic happened, I think I was 31 years old. So I was prime age to ready to buy, and it was affordable. But we also didn't know what was going to happen in the world. So it's like, do I leave my apartment and go buy a house when the market could crash? Like, no one knew what.
See, guys, that's bad. He admitted to bad decision making. He the same age as me, but he a TikToker. I'm an engineer. See, that's the decision making that you made when you was coming up. Like, you wanted to be something. You wanted to be a TikToker. You want to, make people laugh. Now it's not funny. Now you're ready to have kids. Now you want to get your life together when you should have been preparing when you was coming up. That's what you should have been doing, man. So I don't feel sorry for you at all. I don't feel sorry for you. Should have got your life together.
They're the pinched generation where college essentially stopped working for most. The debt piled up and the old American dream died, and we got left holding the bag. So we know what to do, but many of us are crippled by $50,000 to $100,000 of debt, and then high rent prices. And so that's the millennial struggle. But if you're like 16 to 18 and you get guidance, you can crush it in today's economy. But you can't be in debt, and you got to make smart financial decisions. So that's the variable. For Gen Z, I think the smartest thing is when you're 16 or 17, get a job. Maybe your folks can help you out with a car. Grab yourself a used car, not an old one that's going to break every 2 seconds, but try to get one that's like 8 to 9,000 that can last you for 5, 6, 7 years, even 10,000. I know that sounds expensive, but this is the reality of the world today. And try to work on getting that car paid off by the time you graduate high school, or at least your first year in college if you're going to go. Getting rid of that car payment is probably the easiest and smartest thing to do, so that that's off the table. Number 2 is there needs to be a discussion around college degrees. People need to truly go, is this going to cost me this much, or is it going to take me longer? Most people in college go, oh, it'll just be 4 years, and it ends up being 6. Oh, it's only going to be 30,000. Now it's 50,000. And then they think in their head, well, I Googled a nurse gets paid 72,000. So I'm going to invest 40K in 4 years and then make 72,000. I'm going to be rich. But really the starting pay is 47,000. After 401K and taxes, you're taking home like $2,800. And you're like, wait a minute, now I can't even afford rent in my college. So I think the younger generation from 16 to 18 sitting down with their parents and really going over, what is this college degree going to cost? Is it necessary? 100%, is it necessary? And what will be my starting pay and my take home? And where am I going to live at 22? What's going to be the bills? And can I feasibly pay this thing back? If the answer is, I don't.
You should be living with your parents at 22. Why are you out living on your own? I never understood that. You should be living, you should graduate and move back into your parents, save up a little bit, figure out. It's this thing like I need you to figure out what life is. You're a kid. Your brain doesn't fully develop until you're 25 years old. The studies on this, man. So this is why he's in the situation that he's in. Can't afford a house, And I'm just saying, because he's a 35-year-old TikToker. This is what we having. This is why you're having these problems.
Really know, then I wouldn't gamble 50K in 5 years of your life on the degree. But the other way, if you are going to get the degree and you can work and pay that off during it, fantastic. Or if you can live at home with your parents for a couple years and just pay off your college degree while you're going to college. Can you rent for $1,700 a month with utilities and these grocery prices and pay off your student loans? No.
Now, let me digress, right? So if you can't live with your parents after you graduate college, go to the military, man. I mean, that's the best advice I can give you, man. Like joining the military saved my life. Like literally bar none. Like it really, but I was fortunate enough to be able to go back and live with my parents after I graduated college. And went to did a year of grad school prior to when so I know everyone doesn't get the same cars in life, but if you can, go live with your parents, and if you can't, join the military or watch my last video. It talks about group economics.
But if you can live at home, that could be a strategy. And then lastly, is if you don't go to college. And this needs to be talked about more because there are so many jobs that you can have a great career, especially these days, without going to college, and you can start at 18 in the workforce. And if you can live at home or live for cheap with a few friends, just that's the biggest thing. Pay off your car. Don't use credit cards. And if you're going to go to college, be wise about that. But someone who's 22 with no debt, making 40,000 is so far ahead of a 24-year-old with $80,000 in debt making 60,000. So it's like we have to get rid of the car, student loan, and credit card, and you're going to be so far ahead. Then it just becomes budgeting and spending and planning, which is more feasible. But if you saddle yourself with a $500 car payment, $600 student loan, and $300 worth of credit cards, yeah, that's been very popular. If there's a young kid who happens to have some money, or maybe the parents or someone's helping them out to buy a home and then rent the rooms out, that's a great strategy for that individual child. That's if the 18, 19-year-olds want to even stay in the same location for a while. That's what we're also seeing. And I think that's the bigger conversation that we're going to really see take place over the next 5 to 10 years is we're basically redefining the American dream from top to bottom. like the way that we see work and work-life balance. Like as much as we talk about the boomers, how they had such a great economic boom in their 30s compared to today, but I don't even know if millennials and Gen Zers want to follow that path of like buying a house and living in it for 40 years and staying at the same job for 40 years. Like I don't think creatively work-life balance wise is also what our long-term play is. So I think that's going to also change as we get older and for the younger generations coming up. But yeah, Gen Zers using like communal living or small home living or living with a bunch of families together. I see that a lot here in Florida, actually, where there's many families where there's like 3 or 4 adults and then there's like 5 children, but they all split, a big house and they all kind of take care of each other. And you can see that they have a lot of toys and they have a lot like because they're pooling their money. And I think for a while we had the money as Americans to have our own home. But now when you've got a bunch of adults together in a big home, these are the strategies people are going to have to use. Or they're going to have to move to the Midwest or some places in the South where you can still get a house for 250. So we're going to see a lot of migration. We're going to see a lot of families living together. We're going to see a lot of communal living, small homes. Like they have all those new small homes coming about and buying the land. So we're going to figure out new ways of doing this because the old school way is becoming sadly a luxury to own just a typical average home for an American. The younger generation is going to have to figure something else out.
My bad, guys. They got my blood boiling. No, I think this just example of bad decision making. From that standpoint, I know a lot of people that I've graduated from high school with and college didn't buy their first homes until they was 30, 29, 30, and like 2020. So that's why it's so important that you teach your kids early what investing is, what how to buy a home, how to manage their money. Um, Teach them financial literacy. That's the most important thing you can teach your kids going into this next uh, phase of this new world that's evolving right in front of our eyes. Um, a lot of us is going to get this tax refund check because it's January 15th, so a lot of tax refund. And then what you going to do with it? That's the next question. What are you going to do with these 6 to 9 thousand, or however much you get back on your tax refund? I always owe, unfortunately, for whatever reason. But um, what are you gonna do with this money, man? We have to start changing our relationship with money, and I think that would help us, will propel us into the next phase of our life as we get older as millennials. I don't agree with the group living. I think, especially being a father, I don't want to live with other people. With this group living outside of like family, like I mean, like not long distant cousins. I'm talking about like people I grew up with, people like my brother. That's it. That's the only type of group living I will be open and willing to do in the future if needed in order to save a dollar. But I'm not no friends, no none of that. Because people are weirdos out here. But that's it, guys. That's on this video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. It just takes a minute. So just like the video or dislike the video or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But make sure you subscribe. Please do. I'm trying to grow the channel, and I'm out. Peace and love always.